Hello everyone and welcome to Sid's Reviews. This is my very first review on my channel, and this item here, this is the Paradigm X10 Defiance Subwoofer, and I decided to start out with this item in my for my review. I have a bunch of different electronics that I do want to get into, but I decided to start off with this bad boy. Why? Because there are not many reviews on this item specifically. I tried to find them. There's overviews of it about the specs and the features, but I haven't seen any direct YouTube videos on this one. Perhaps there is of the X15 or the higher end models, but this X10, I didn't see any reviews of it, and it's in my system. I've had it for over a year now, and I wanted to give it a proper review. So let's get into it, and here we go on the Paradigm Defiance X10 subwoofer. Let's go. Okay, so let's start off with the subwoofer review. Let me tell you a little bit first about Paradigm, the company, in case you're unfamiliar with it. They're a Canadian company. They started in 1982 making loudspeakers, and so they've been around for quite a long time. They started making subwoofers, I believe, in 1994, and they have a complete line of subwoofers, all the way from, you know, high-end to entry-level subwoofers. And they've been making them now for over 25 years, so they're obviously very good at it, and they know what they're doing. So this Defiance line came out, I believe, a few years ago, and it's divided into two subcategories. So you have the X series, the X series, which is their higher end line, and starts off with the V series. I guess that stands for value series. So they have three sizes in the value series: an 8-inch, a 10-inch, and a 12-inch. And then when you step up to the X series, which this one is, it starts off with the 10-inch, which is this one, and it goes from a 12-inch to a 15-inch. And the basic difference, I believe, from the V series to the X series is power. Obviously, I believe these are pretty much double the power for the same thing. So in the V series, this thing would be about half the power of which this one is, which I'll talk about soon. Also, I believe these are crafted and made in Canada, the X series, and the V series, I believe they are made in China. So the specs on this, so this X10 is, it's, I believe, 300 RMS power, watts of power, and the peak of it is 600 watts, so dynamic power would be 600, and it drops down to, I believe, 24 hertz, which is pretty low, so that's very good for this price range. And speaking of price, this retails, I believe, in the US starting at $999, and in Canada it's $1,249 retail value, but sometimes you can go into the store and get it much less than that. Okay, first, now that you've seen the front of this receiver here, there's not too much to look at. I'll turn around the receiver, stop the video, and then I'll go into features and stuff that's on the back of the receiver, because there's a lot of connections to get into. So let's get into that right now. Okay everyone, here's the back of the Paradigm Defiance X10 subwoofer. I want to show you all the inputs here. So let's go here from left to right. So here we have the speaker level inputs. So this is to hook up the subwoofer directly to your speakers and come out, and that's especially helpful or handy when you don't have a dedicated LFE or subwoofer input on the back of your receiver. So if you just have an old school receiver, just a 2-channel receiver, you could hook them up that way. As well, you have the LFE input to hook directly up to the amplifier, which is suggested if you have you know, a home theater amplifier. Also line level input, so again, another way to hook up the subwoofer if you don't have that line level input. You could hook it up from here into your pre-out, into your 2-channel receiver, which I have used as well, and it works very well. Trigger in, so you put that into the trigger inputs onto your receiver. So once you turn on the receiver, this will automatically come on. You could set it like that. Power mode, so there's 3 set of power modes: the trigger or off position in the middle, auto, so you switch it over there when you want the subwoofer to go into sleep mode, but only come on when it detects a signal below your certain crossover, then it'll automatically come on. Or as I do, I leave it directly on, so the subwoofer is on all the time. status indicator, ARC input. So this is to set up the subwoofer for calibration. So you could plug it in right there, and then that goes into your computer for a professional calibration. I'll also be explaining to you some other ways to calibrate your subwoofer using ARC. Your level indicator, so this is basically your volume indicator onto there. I leave it on there because I'm running everything right through the application on my mobile phone, which I'll show you about, and control settings. So you either put it on local, which controls this volume here, so you're controlling everything from the subwoofer direct, or it's on the app. So I control everything on my app on my iPhone, and I leave it on there so I can control the volume, the phase, and everything from there. So also there's a wireless module. So here's the something that you could purchase. So if you're running your subwoofer far away from the receiver and you don't want to run a long cord to it, like an LFE cord into it, you plug in the module in here and they'll send the signal wirelessly to your receiver. So this can run all wirelessly. You don't need a wire into there. And of course you have your power output plugged in there. So yeah, that's about it, and let's continue on with the review. Okay, so let me talk a bit about how this receiver sets up and performs. Using the ARC software in here is very easy to use, and this is one of the main reasons why I got this subwoofer, because let's face it, I hate setting up subwoofers. There's a lot of finicky things to it. You know, there's adjustments on the subwoofer, like the phase, and volume obviously and stuff, and just hooking it up to your receiver, and then you have to go through the calibration on your receiver as well. And to me, the more you can take the guesswork out of it, the better. I know there's a lot of audiophiles out there that loves tweaking, that really knows their stuff into it, but I would consider myself kind of in the middle of the road, where I know about products, I know about basic setup and stuff like that, but to go into really finite details, you know, I just can't be bothered with all that stuff. And this is where the ARC software really comes in for it. So you basically, you put the subwoofer down, place it, you know, in your room, hook it up. There's a lot of different ways to hook it up to your receiver, but take the easiest one, the LFE connector. It's one cord, you plug it into the receiver, then you're on your way. So you download the app onto your phone, the ARC software app, you hit a couple of buttons and you just get right into it. It's very simple, it walks you right through it. And once it's calibrated on there, which takes, you know, less than, you know, a minute to do, then the receiver should be calibrated directly to your room. It takes into account, you know, all the walls into it, all the reflections and everything like that. And it just auto calibrates it to sound as best as it can for your home theater. And that's what I really love about this software and this subwoofer on there, is Paradigm really came to the table with this ARC software. It came out a long time ago and just makes it so easy for you. Now, after that, after you calibrate the subwoofer, obviously you could go into your home theater and do another calibration into that. And actually Paradigm does recommend that. So even after you use the ARC software, you know, you run your room correction into your speakers, into your home theater as well. So you're kind of double calibrating it, but it doesn't hurt anything. And it just, in fact, it'll advance or correct anything else from that to it. So you're kind of double calibrating it. But even that is really easy on the, you know, most AV receivers have their microphone and software that you could download and do it onto that. So that's one of the main reasons. The other thing I really like about it is the Bluetooth app on it. So Paradigm has the Subwoofer Defiance app on it. It automatically connects via Bluetooth from the subwoofer directly to your phone, and from there now you could calibrate the volume level, the phase, deep bass, anything that you want onto the subwoofer goes directly to your phone. No more going behind the subwoofer, you know, calibrating the or adjusting the volume knob and the phase onto there. Takes all that out, puts it right on your phone, and that's really great because let's face it, sometimes when you're watching TV or movies, you want your subwoofer to be adjusted up and down. It depends on what you're listening to. Sometimes when you listen to movies, you want the bass, really cranked up and you want it to really hit those lows and stuff. And then other times you're watching a TV show or something else, let's dial it back a little bit. So you just take the phone, you can adjust it right from there, right from your couch. You don't have to get up and do anything. And I think that is the ultimate feature of it. And I know more subwoofers are, companies are coming out with the app that can control this stuff. SVS will be one on there, and that's probably their, a really good competitor on there. So everyone's incorporating those apps to adjust your subwoofer onto it. You don't need an extra remote control. I mean, God forbid, how many remote controls do we have in our house right now, to adjust everything. So it takes care of that all on your phone, and it's so easy to adjust. That's what I really like about this subwoofer. As far as performance goes, I think, it does a very good job for a small to medium sized room. Obviously, if you have a massive room that's, let's say over 15 by 20 or something like that, you're gonna probably want to step up to a little bit bigger subwoofer, maybe the X12 or the X15 on that to really, so this thing doesn't disappear into it. But for small to medium sized rooms like I have, in my basement here, my home theater setup, this thing is absolutely perfect. It goes way deeper than, it rattles things and stuff like that if you want it to. So it'll get down right there, and it could also be subtle enough, to have just a little bit extension on your current speakers that you use in your home theater here, because that's what it's really all about, right? You just want it to mesh well with the current speakers that you have in here. The software calibrates it for you automatically, and that's, to me, is the biggest advantage of this. So one thing people ask about all the time about subwoofers is the subwoofer, is it more calibrated, do you think, for movies or music? What should I be using it for? Is it good for both? Is it better for one thing or the other? This one I use in my home theater room, so obviously I play it a lot for movies and TV, obviously. But I also use this one for music as well. So, I'll put on a YouTube video, or I'll, stream music from my receiver, and obviously the subwoofer's playing with it. And another really good thing about this is the Paradigm app, where it controls the subwoofer. There's settings for that. So you could have the setting directly for movies. So you just push that in, and it gives it a really aggressive, punchy sound there for your subwoofer. Or when I play music, I just hit the music button on it, and it kind of softens it a little, integrates a little bit better, I think, with your speakers that you're using in there, and it still sounds really nice for music, and that's really good. And the third setting that it has on the app as well is nighttime setting. So what that does, if you're listening to a movie at night and you don't want to disturb other people in the house and stuff, you press it on night, and it'll soften the bass on it, so it won't, go so deep and won't go kind of through your house. You could still hear it. You still hear bass and stuff, but it kind of mitigates it only to your listening area, and it's actually a really good touch for nighttime viewing when you don't want to disturb the rest of your house for it. So yeah, that's my thoughts on it, and let's go to the next segment. Okay, so this will be short. There's just a couple of things I believe that are caveats for this subwoofer. One is that I've had only a couple of times is Bluetooth dropouts for the app. So I take my phone, I open up the Paradigm subwoofer app onto it, and it doesn't see that this receiver is part, or the subwoofer, sorry, is part of the app anymore. Just couldn't find it. So this only happened, like I said, I've had the subwoofer now for about over a year, and it's only happened probably 2 or 3 times, but the Bluetooth did drop out on it. It doesn't affect the subwoofer performance or anything, but you just can't adjust the volume or anything on it if the Bluetooth doesn't detect it. So what I did was I just unplugged the subwoofer completely, plugged it back in, and boom, I opened up the app again, and it did find the Defiance X10 subwoofer on there, and everything was back to normal. Everything was working properly. The other thing, I guess, is competition for subwoofers. So, I mean, in the $1,000 price range for subwoofers, there are so many options on there, as you guys probably know. I mean, you have SVS, which makes fantastic subwoofers, and they have their own app now, so they could do the same thing that Paradigm could do. Monolith, there's Emotiva, there's HSU, there's countless other subwoofers out there. in this price range and full line of subwoofers out there as well. I haven't tried any of those other subwoofers. You know, you read on reviews, they all sound very good with their own plus and minuses. SVS is probably, you know, one of the best out there. But for me, I chose this one here, the Paradigm, and very glad I did. But that would just be another one of the caveats, I guess, is intense competition on it. But that's about it. Otherwise, you know, I think this thing performs great. So let's go to my final thoughts now and to wrap all this up. Okay, here's my final thoughts, I guess, to wrap up this review of the Paradigm X10 Defiance Subwoofer. So I think with everything involved in it, I mean, it's not a very big subwoofer, but it's perfect for medium to small to medium size home theater rooms or rooms that it's in. Doesn't take much room. It's very easy to set up, of course, with the ARC app. It's very easy to use with the Paradigm Bluetooth app in there. You could set it for music or movies or nighttime, as I explained before. You could control the volume, the phase in it. So really, the ease of use in it and the performance of it is so good with movies and music that I think that this one is, you know, for me, it's obviously highly recommended. I haven't owned too many subs. I've only owned one other sub before this one, which was only about 150 watts. Didn't have any features in it. It was very basic. But it was a very entry-level sub, definitely good to start. But stepping up to this, I mean, you know, for the size of the room and with the features in it, you know, really you can't go wrong with it. Now, obviously, the thing is there's heavy competition for this with other options in there, so you have to do your research on it. But for me, this really worked out for my space, and who knows, maybe if you can, go check it out. You know, lots of retailers sell it in Canada and the US. You could order it online as well, and Paradigm obviously has a 3-year warranty on these products, so they do back it up if anything goes wrong, you know, with the amplifier or anything like that. They will look after you, and most of the retailers that they deal with too, you know, they're very good as well, so they should easily back up the product. So that's it. Comments and questions and stuff about it below. This is my first review and I was really excited to do it, but let me know your thoughts, and that's about it for this review, and hope to see you on the next one. Thanks everyone, and take care.